Good morning, class. Before we move on with the lesson, I have a few questions to ask you about a very important Canadian issue. How would you feel if you did not know how to read? How would you feel if the only way to read is to be taken from your family for a very long time? How would you feel if you had to move to a different place, was treated badly, only so you could read? Sadly, this was the case for author Margaret Poquiat Fenton, as this book, When I Was 8, is about her emotional childhood journey of attending a residential school. Uliman, a young Inuit girl, knows a lot of things, but she doesn't know how to read. She travels to a school outside of where she was raised in order to learn how to read, while ignoring her father's warnings of what will happen going there. This book addresses the unfairness of many Aboriginal communities faced in Canada's history. These residential schools were created to get rid of Indians or take away their culture altogether. Many children that attended these schools were treated very badly and even got really hurt if they did not follow the rules that the nuns provided for them. Author Margaret Fenton is an Inuit children's book author and residential school survivor. Unlike most children, she begged to go to school despite hearing the horrible things said about residential schools. There was nothing more she wanted than to learn how to read. Throughout the story, it shows how strong Margaret was throughout this whole journey, even though she was getting treated very badly. Margaret had to face many challenges going to school, such as getting her hair cut off, having your name changed, and so much more. Residential schools wanted to get rid of Indians. They were seen as a problem to society, and the tragic events that occurred in these schools continued until the late 1990s. Now, before we close off this lesson, I have some questions. How would you feel if this was your grandparents that attended residential schools? How would you feel if that was someone from your family or community that attended residential schools that got treated badly? And do you think that if you knew somebody that attended a residential schools, would this affect you in today's society? Now, although residential schools do not exist in Canada anymore, they are still a very important Canadian history issue and still needs to be discussed in today's school. I really encourage all of you to read this book, as it will show some examples of what it was like being at a residential school and the bravery that Margaret had while attending. I hope when you read this book that you will keep these questions in mind. What can Canada do to fix these past mistakes? And what do you think we can do to fix and help residential school survivors? I hope you enjoyed this book talk. Thank you.